Okay, we're live. Hey, welcome to Zenwave's Live. Where we share sustainability news from Japan. And this is our Zenwave channel, run by Zenbird Media, which is an online magazine. Shares again sustainability news, columns, interviews direct from Japan. And yes, last week we had a problem with the stream. We had to cut it short, but yesterday we did a test run. Seems everything is okay, and I expect everything to go the same. I couldn't identify what went wrong last week, but after yesterday's test run, doesn't seem to have any issues, so I think we can just go for this. But before I jump into today's articles, I saw something which I thought would be interesting. Now this is Reddit. And yeah, this is from anti-work and a movement that wants better working conditions for people, especially especially strong in United States. Yeah, they are fighting capitalism, which is a very interesting fight. I hope they win. There's a lot of unionization, for example, among Starbucks in US, but yeah, that's another story. But I did see this post, which is interesting for a couple of reasons. So we'll see. So I think, yeah, this is Twitter. You ever watch a rich person's expression change when you ask a question that's too poor? Now, I think it's a joke tweet, but this answer really got my attention. I once bragged to a co-worker that I got my outfit from thrifting. And my boss took me aside and said not to say I shop at thrift stores because it made him look bad, like he didn't pay me enough. Reader, he didn't pay me enough. So I thought this was interesting on two levels. One, yes, this is exactly what anti-work is fighting against. Fighting low pay. You're not paying your workers enough to maximize profit, and that is one very big issue. The other is what's wrong with shopping at thrift stores? There's this image that's a bad thing, which I think, how to say, in Japanese zannen, it's really sad to think about this. But thrifting is one of the best ways to tackle climate change. You buy second hands, you buy hand-me-down, you use hand-me-downs, and that actually extends the life of the clothing. So I think this particular tweet reminds us that workers are not being paid enough. Businesses are not being sustainable, especially where Grace Kelly is working in. The other is probably in Japan, going for second hands is totally normal, because usually in Japan, second hands are very, very good stuff. You can find almost perfect clothing, CDs, used items, and I'm not too sure where Grace is from. Maybe thrifting stores are not that good, but then again, it can't be that bad. So I guess what I'm saying is the second point, thrifting. There's nothing wrong with it, yeah, and it's something that the world needs to look at, because it's a reuse model within the circular economy. Yeah. And we'll jump in today with 4 articles. Now, yesterday I said if there's time, I wanted to go and jump into IPCC reports and do some reading. And then I realized it's going to be a very boring stream if I'm going to stream reading. So I'm just going to jump that. But I did find something on Quora that I think would be interesting. Is of course related to climate change, and especially oil. So many companies, so many countries depend on oil, and with the conflict with Russia, and Russia exports, main export is actually oil, and other minerals that are derived from oil, and one of the reasons countries cannot act as fast as they could is because their dependency on Russian's oil. So I think that read is going to be interesting, and it's a good point to end with that. And to save time, never mind. Okay, let's let's jump into our first article. Now, this week's article, we are covering a very good range. About 3 of them you can actually say is related to climate change. And that's one thing that Zenwaves is trying to do, a big focus on climate change and issues and solutions and whatnot. So let's jump into the first one. How Japan integrates circular rice farming into fashion. I'll give you a heads up. This article is really about how do you use rice for a sustainable society or community. How do you use rice to create sustainable products? And we'll see some examples here. Japan has been concerned about agriculture decline for years. Rice production in particular keeps decreasing due to westernization of dietary patterns among Japanese people. The annual rice consumption per person has decreased to 50.7 kg in 2020 from 95.1 kg in 1970. Some people are concerned about losing a beautiful landscape with rice fields as well as our traditional diet. In recent years, some companies have developed new businesses in the fashion and beauty fields to preserve such scenery and our tradition. Fermentation utilizes fallow rice fields and produces beauty items. The Japanese startup Fermentation aims to build a more circular society by utilizing unused resources with their fermentation technology. They started producing organic rice in cooperation with local farmers to use fallow rice fields in Iwate Prefecture about 10 years ago. Fallow fields can generate pests that negatively affect surrounding areas. Fermentation transforms organic rice into ethanol, which is USDA and Cosmos certified. The brand secures its traceability and informs customers of all production processes from planting. Furthermore, Fermentation uses leaves for their beauty items and livestock feed. The manure of this livestock is transformed into fertilizer to achieve zero waste and sustainable farming. They are also making products with food waste. Now, actually, fermentation is actually quite active in the field of sustainability and making products that are sustainable. If you are looking for a beauty brand, definitely check out for fermentation. Then we have a second example, Snow Peak. Snow Peak passes on traditions through locally made clothing and experiential tours. You might see all this blue is one look is aozome, which is indigo dyeing. Indigo in Japanese we have another name which is called Japanese blue, and this is the what you look at. This is the image, the general image when we mention Japanese blue. Yeah, really nice PR shots. And by the way, indigo dyeing is actually very sustainable. So you take the plants, is flower dyeing, which means any water byproducts is actually minimal, zero impact on the environment. Okay, continuing with this article. The Japanese outdoor brand Snow Peak developed the local wear project, in which they make clothing by incorporating local materials and traditional techniques developed in each area to preserve the local economy. They aim to produce such clothing in all prefectures and started a project in Sado City in Niigata Prefecture by chance encounter with a rice farmer. Origin story. Sado has beautiful rice terraces, which are stepwise rice fields made on sloping lands. In fact, Sado was registered on the globally important agricultural heritage list in 2011, 11 years ago. It is impossible to use agricultural machines in these fields, which means it takes more time and effort than standard rice farming. For this reason, Sado's rice is especially high quality and costs more. To convey the farmers' effort and thought, To convey the farmers' effort and thought, Snow Peak simultaneously started offering experiential programs called local wear tourism. In the programs in Sado, participants can experience planting or harvesting rice and learn traditions through communication with local people. This can remind us that valuable cultures and traditional industries are rooted in local communities. Cross-industrial cooperation is an effective way to preserve valuable traditions. There are various ways to support the local economy and communities. As these companies approach the issue from different industries, they can involve more people, including those unconcerned about the issue. Such projects are expected to increase and soon expand to other fields. Now, it's true that there's a lot of potential if we are willing to tap into, traditional wisdom. But more often than not, it's not just one company that's doing things. Usually, there's a partnership. Different companies good at different things coming together to actually form that circular loop of zero waste. So that we look at two examples how we can actually reduce rice. So rice is not just for eating, but there are other ways. And of course, you have to think about food waste, what we're going to do with it. Okay, let's jump into our next article. Yes, that's right. Tuesday was International Women's Day. It was a great time, looking on Twitter, on Instagram, people posting a lot of examples about wonderful work, wonderful history about not And for Zenbird, we found that we want to promote climate change too. Not promote, we want to fight against climate change. So we thought this is a good thing to know that Japan actually have strong leaders leading the fight, and this is where it comes in. 5 female climate activists in Japan to know this International Women's Day. Japan is lagging behind in 2 aspects in the world. One is the advancement of women in society, and the other is climate action. According to the Gender Inequality Index by United Nations Development Programme, Japan ranks 24th out of 162 countries, far behind the rest of the world. As for climate action, Japan got the Fossil of the Day award at COP26 last year because it aims to continue using coal power plants beyond 2030. On the other hand, in Japan, some women have taken leadership in climate action. Focusing on supporting them may lead to advancing Japan in 2 aspects. Celebrating International Women's Day, March 8th, I'd like to share 5 Japanese women who are approaching climate change from different generations and fields. They have been involved in various activities, from actions to influence the public to advocacy to move the government. Give me a moment. Never mind, I thought I'll get something, but yeah. So let's continue. Let's go to our first lady, Lillian Ono. She is not a string. She is a very familiar name among any climate activists in Japan because she does a lot of advocacy. She is a fashion model born in 1989. She has been involved. Now I'm not too sure why the age matters here. I'll have to talk with the editor. This is kind of strange. Anyway, she has been involved in a number of activities, including setting up Green Tea, a community for people who want to take climate action, supporting Fridays for Future Japan, and participating in COP26. In April 2021, she and fellow activist Eri launched Peaceful Climate Strike, which aims to demand that the Japanese government raise its greenhouse gas reduction target, nationally determined contributions, to at least 60% and take measures to eliminate nuclear power and decarbonize Japan. It also aims to inspire citizens to think about building a decarbonized society in Japan. Specifically, for 1 week from 17 April 2021, last year, they delivered online content by celebrities, artists, and experts using the connections they have made over the years. They also went on hunger strike. Oh, I remember this. For 4 days from 20 April, eating only salt and water. On the last day, 600 people participate in the 24-hour hunger strike, which became a major movement. It was so interesting. I remember the closing, the last hour. Yeah, it was quite a party in a way, but having been on the hunger strike, they were quite mellow. Yeah, but yeah, that was a good run. Anyway, continuing with the article, climate change strikes in Japan have mainly evolved standing and online action via social media, and there have been no cases of hunger strikes. However, the hunger strike by 2 women had attracted attention as a new form of strike, peaceful but at the same time strong protest. Second lady, Shina Tsuyuki. She spent 3 years of her high school life at Green School Bali in Indonesia. Oh, Green School Bali, wonderful place, which is said to be the most eco-friendly school in the world, and participated in COP in 2018 and 2019. She also developed a vegan and ethical lipstick for her younger sister, who had sensitive skin, and launched Sheena Cosmetics. In September 2019, she enrolled in the Faculty of Environment and Information Studies at Keio University. She is currently taking a break from university to give talks on climate change, mainly from primary schools to universities across the country, saying university can wait, but climate change can't wait. Her mission is to create a world without environmental activists. She has been speaking about climate change since November 2020 and has reached 15,000 people and over 110 schools. Yuka Natori. In 2019, she was shocked by a speech by then 16-year-old Swedish environmental activist Greta Zenbird, and she became an activist while usually working in the welfare field. During her environmental activism, she realized the importance of the media. She founded Media is Hope, an organization whose mission is to enable creative communication through new co-creation partnerships between media, sponsors, and audiences. So, Media is Hope sets a vision of building a fair, justice, and free media and sustainable society, and makes various proposals. The third lady, Mana Saza. She is currently enrolled in the Sustainable Development Master's Program at the University College London. As the global coordinator of MOC COP26, a MOC conference held in 2020 organized by young people concerned about the 1-year postponement of COP26, which was due to take place in 2020. That's awful. She worked with youths ages from 11 to 29, actively participating in environmental action from 140 countries to push forward policy recommendations to COP26 and their respective prime ministers in 2021. The campaign was a success. Over 20 plus countries who signed climate education to be mandated in their countries at the COP26 conference. She was also the Japanese youth delegate at the actual COP26. Okay. Well, we'll get to that. In 2021, she founded Switch to implement the recommendations of COP26 with a particular focus on sustainable education and youth empowerment. Her international experience has made her aware of the low literacy level around sustainability in Japan and the lack in participation for climate action. She is currently working on a project, 100 Mirai, to raise 1 million sustainability ambassadors in order to raise the level of knowledge about sustainability to support the climate transition, especially amongst youth in preparation for the 2025 Osaka Kansai World Expo. This year, 100 Mirai will operate its first competition to invite universities and corporations to showcase their sustainable action. The next generation living alongside climate change will be awarding the top sustainable companies of the year. Applications will open from March 9 and are calling for participants to join in creating this movement for sustainability. Now, this is a very new project, and if you are in Japan, and you are, she's inviting universities and corporations. And if you're here in Japan and you have such activities, why not apply? Yeah, we need a lot of ambassadors. Like she said, where is it? Sustainable education and youth empowerment. So we're talking about awareness, which means we need leaders, we need role models, and with the number of people, we can empower the youth to act. And to our last, Kimiko Hirata. Now we interviewed her. We wrote, our writer interviewed her and wrote 2 articles about how to create energy change in Japan and how to create social change. I recommend reading that too. After getting a doctorate in social science from Waseda University, Japan, she worked for the NPO Climate Network from 1998 to 2021, having conducted international negotiations, researching, analyzing, advocating, and disseminating information on climate change and energy policies in Japan and abroad. On June 15, 2021, she was awarded the Goldman Environmental Prize, also known as the Nobel Prize in the field of environment. She's the 3rd Japanese and the 1st woman to win this prize. To accelerate climate action towards decarbonization by citizens, governments, and the business sector, she established Climate Integrate in 2020, a non-profit organization that will work with domestic and international partners to support each stakeholders move towards decarbonization. While Japan has a policy of allowing public financing for the export of coal-fired power plants, her and others' recommendations will continue to accelerate the trend for Japanese companies to move away from coal. Yeah. So if you're interested in joining their activities, the list is you can find the link in the description that will take you to this article, and there's a list that if you're interested, I will highly suggest joining them. They are active, they are inspiring. Do consider joining them. Okay, drink some water. Hydrate. Sometimes it's really depressing looking at the climate clock. You see the time ticking away. And with the war, oil companies are taking advantage of the situation to try and make more money. Disgusting. Okay, let's move on. Now we go on to an article about universal design. Japan's history of left-handed minorities and today's inclusive design. Now this is a very good article because it reminds us that if we don't pay attention, we will actually forget to implement, so to speak, universal design that includes everyone in terms of accessibility. In Japan, about 1 out of every 10 people is left-handed. Therefore, left-handed people are the minority in society. Now, there are also people who can only use one side of their body due to physical disabilities. Japan's environment for left-handed people If you look around in Japanese society, you will find a comfortable environment for the majority. Those are right-handed. For example, automatic ticket gates at train stations, kitchens, and most stationery items are designed for right-handed people. Because of this custom in society, there is an ingrained culture in Japan in which children born left-handed were corrected by their parents to be right-handed at an early age. This is because parents love their children and wish for them to be able to live comfortably in Japanese society. However, it has been reported that this type of correction at an early age can have harmful effects. For example, stuttering and difficulty with left-right perceptions are some examples. For this reason, recently there has been a trend to raise left-handed children without correcting them. As a result, there is a gradual increase in inclusive design products and systems for left-handed people. So what is inclusive design? Inclusive design is a design method originated in the UK that includes people with disabilities, the elderly, foreigners, and pregnant women who have traditionally been excluded from the core of business processes, the mainstream population. Inclusive design aims to ensure products, services, and environments are accessible to all users. A similar term is universal design, but in this case, a designer devises a design that is easy for everyone to use. Inclusive design, on the other hand, involves not only designers, but also extreme users who have been excluded from society. From the beginning of the design process, we listen to extreme users' insights, opinions, and emotions and work with them to create products based on their unique ideas and needs. Today's inclusive design case studies. Nissin cereal food packaging. Nissin's cereal package uses characters and colors to make it easier for children to open the bag. The design instructs both right and left-handed users which part of the package to hold to pour out cereal with ease. One may not think this is innovative per se, but the design is an important step forward to recognizing and including minority users. So yeah, hold the red dots with your hands and shake to pour if you are right-handed. Hold the blue dots with both hands and shake to pour if you are left-handed. You can see the design here. Small little red dots, small little blue dots at the corners. Unicharm, transparent mask with visible face. Inclusive design is of course also used for other extreme users besides left-handers. Some people with hearing impairment can understand words from the movement of the other person's mouth. Even though wearing masks has become the norm, this inclusive design makes it possible to communicate while looking at the mouth. Left-handedness has been recognized as an individuality over time. People have various needs, and we should think about how to realize a diverse society from the perspective of handedness. In addition, there currently is a movement to create things together with users, not just designers. If you become a key person who solves potential programs in society instead of merely talking about them, you may find society more enjoyable. Now, of course, there are many. I think one thing we need to remember when we look at, when we talk about so-called minorities, is that there are a lot of groups of minorities, left-handed, foreign, single mothers. What else do we have? The elderly, pregnant women, left-handed, people with disabilities, people cannot see, cannot hear, cannot speak. There's a lot of, so I wouldn't say fringe cases, but really unique cases that even I have may not realize, because I'm considered the majority. And while it sounds difficult designing that way, I would like to believe it must be a work in progress. We must continually find new solutions and share information. This city has done this, so what can we learn? How can we improve the design? Okay, yeah, let's go for the next article. And this compendium, yes, this article is about carbon emissions, and we thought, with IPCC coming up, there are still a lot of questions that doesn't seem to be answered. From time to time, I see the same old question. I'll be like, if you do a Google, there's a lot of people who knows these answers, but some are kind of tough to understand. Even for our writers, when they try to explain circular economy, they're still stuck in in trying to explain it correctly. What I like to do is actually explain it in explain it like I'm five kind of way, because if I cannot explain that, if we are not able to do it, I don't think we are going to be able to communicate the simplest ideas to people who have who don't really have an interest in listening. And that's one of the things about climate change, right? Why do scientists have took so long just to, why hasn't scientists been able to convince others of the threat? Well, one of the things, if you look at the IPCC, it's really not friendly to read. It's important, definitely, but it's not friendly to read. And if you cannot boil it down to simple terms, how are people gonna understand? And that's why the Fridays for Future movement is so important. That one of their roles is to communicate, and they have done it well. They use social network. They know how to tap on it. Use the, create interesting contents to get the word out. Oh, thank goodness for the youths. Okay. Anyway, yes. The reason why we restarted the compendium is to answer more questions. So in fact, if you have climate change related questions, just throw at us. You can email us. You can drop a comment, and in this YouTube channel, you can reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and we'll pick it up. We might not be able to answer immediately, depending on the question. We might need to do some research, but yeah, we'll like to answer as much as we can to make sure people have a place where they can learn about these stuffs. And that's what the compendium is about, to explain the simpler terms. How can we do things? What action we can take, especially to fight the climate change? And this is one of them. How can we reduce carbon emissions as individuals? Now, I wrote another one in general. That means we are looking at the economy. We're looking at a worldwide base. What can we do? Things like, stop using fossil fuels. But as individuals, what can we do? Now, individuals can make changes, and we need volume for that, of course. And sometimes people might argue with you and say, what can one person do? Oh, a lot. I explained this in one of our circular economics basics series. Yeah, we can make a difference. So, but I think I wasn't able to cover this as well as I wanted to. So I thought I'll write this so that you will know what to do the next time when you are thinking about reducing carbon emissions. And it involves just two questions. We can reduce carbon emissions as individuals by asking two questions. Where does this come from? Where does this go after we use them? Where does this come from? And where does this go after we use them? This referring to the product that you're planning to buy, you're planning to use. And to understand that, we must first think about renewable energy. So if we switch to 100% renewable energy tomorrow, we will only have cut 55% of total global carbon emissions. Where's the remaining 45% coming from? It's related to the products we used. Whether we make it or we throw it away, somehow carbon emissions actually come from them. And the remaining 45% is related to the products we use, which can be tackled if we design our economy to be circular. Now, what does this mean? As consumers in a circular economy, we are the link between where we get the products and where they go after usage. We are that link. We are the chain in that circular economy. And being a chain, there's a chain lead coming in, there's a chain leading out. And that's why we're asking two questions. Where does it come from? Where does it go? We want to get our products from ethical sources. And when the products leave us, we want to give them to organizations that will put the materials back into reuse. Doing this will make us responsible consumers, and will be playing our part in reducing the remaining 45% of carbon emissions. Now, to further explain this point, let's imagine, for example, food. Food, yes, sure, you need energy for the tractors to harvest food, for the machines to automate things. But beyond that, there is a problem. For example, one of the biggest problems is growing cows. Breeding cows, which produces methane. Methane is a very, very harmful greenhouse gas, and it has nothing to do with renewable energy. Just imagine about food. Okay, we buy too much food and then we throw them away. If they are landing up in the landfill, they're going to produce methane again. And imagine how much food waste occurs around the world. So there is a problem that we need to tackle that has nothing to do with the renewable energies. And at this point, we haven't even started. A lot of people, countries on policy level still hasn't talked about it yet, which is worrying. But you are getting a head start by asking these two questions. So that's why we ask two questions before we buy anything. First question, where does this come from? Things you should check when you think about buying them is things like, does the brand make sure they have minimal impact on the environment when they manufacture them? Do they use renewable energy for their machines? How much water do they use? What do they do with the water after it's dirty? So, for example, cotton uses a lot of water, and that's why some people don't like organic cotton, even though it's sustainable, because it's not so good on the water aspect. It uses too much water. Do they use environmentally friendly materials? If the company says biodegradable, does the company really know what the words mean? Now, biodegradable doesn't mean because it's made from plants, it is biodegradable. It doesn't work that way. A lot of biodegradable products still need special recycling methods. Do we know if the item was produced without sacrificing someone's pay or welfare? Now, this is important because when we're talking about sustainability, we're not just talking about the environment. There are people who are working hard to make our clothes, and that's why the term fair trade is so important. Fair trade ensures that the whole supply chain, from the producer, the person who make the material, for example cotton, to the person taking that material and make it into our products, are they getting paid fairly? There's a lot of big issues in the past that causes all these problems. Now you can watch our unsustainable fashion YouTube channel. We go further into that. But the point is, if they are not getting paid, then the product is not sustainable. If you think you want to buy cheap clothes, you need to think again. Usually someone is being sacrificed for that. And if you care about well-being, your emotional well-being, you should check. You should make sure that the product is made without sacrificing anyone. Okay, continue with the article. Does the brand build the livelihood of the people who makes the products? Does it have excessive packaging like Japan? A lot. A package in a package in a package is very, very common in Japan. Are there second hands that I can get rather than buying something new? How durable is the product? Does the company ask you to buy a new version every time it releases something new? Do you really need it? That's probably the first question that you should ask. I should put this at the top. The number one method in a circular economy to reduce waste is to refuse. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Very easy. I say it's easy, but yeah. And that's the first question. So you get the idea that, where does it come from? Is it good? Was it good for the environment when this product was made? Was it good for the people who made it? The second question, where does this go after we use them? So are we gonna throw them away? Well, some of the questions that we need to ask then is, does the product contain composite materials that make it hard to recycle? Now, if you cannot separate, for example, a metal and nylon, somehow it's meshed together. Now that is a very bad way of making products, and usually is either go into incineration or even worse, into the ocean. Well, that's pollution. So you really want, again, it comes back probably to the first question, how the product is made. Companies need to do that, and if you cannot separate the materials, then yeah, you probably don't want to get an alternative. Second question, do I know how to take steps to recycle the material? Do you know where you should, if you can recycle paper, you can recycle plastics, of course, who can you bring it to? Do you know how in your municipality, in your city, how do they do it? Is there an organization near you that can recycle, reuse, upcycle, at least do the proper disposal? Like I said just now, for example, biodegradable stuff. Not everyone knows how to throw away, discard biodegradable materials. And some really need special methods. For example, there's this Limex. Limex is controversial. What Limex does is it replaces plastics. Oh, wonderful! With limestone. Sounds okay. Limestone is not a renewable resource. It's an abundant resource. Nobody uses it. And when the way they make it, they replace plastics, but they make paper too. But you cannot just burn the paper. You cannot recycle the paper because it's different product. So how do customers recycle it? Do they know how to recycle it? And if you don't tell them it's limestone paper, that kind of defeats the purpose. You're not replacing with plastic. You're actually throwing something foreign to the recycling process. And that's why it's so important to listen to people who are in the industry of recycling. They know what they do. So we haven't finished with the questions, but if you have all these questions, you're not too sure what to do, one of the good things is calling the recycle. If you're not too sure, in Japan you can call the city hall. They have someone looking out for this, and they will be able to give you the advice. Okay, continuing the article. Can I repair it? Yes. One of the keywords, if anything you want to take away, is remember this phrase: the right to repair. In the past, in Japan, repairing was a very big thing, but now we have all this concern about intellectual property, the mass stealing. Well, even if you have intellectual property, everyone is still stealing. That's the unfortunate thing. So who does the law protect? Anyway, come back to this. Yes, if you can repair, just repair it. I mean, yeah, and we need more people to do repairs. We don't need to sell more things, but if you can provide a repairing service as a business, I think that extends the life of your favorite products. I think it's a very, very good service. Repair. The other are not reuse, not recycle, not reduce, but repair also. Can it be reused by someone else once I have no use for it? So, yeah, I mean, if the t-shirt you're wearing grows out of size, or you want to replace it with another second hand, yeah, why not? Bring it to a second-hand store who's interested in buying, and give it to someone else. And you're not really giving it away because you're actually selling at a discounted price. Yeah, why not? I mean, you keep the life cycle of that clothing that you have for extended periods of time, and that's a good thing. Yeah, that is really zero waste if you think about it. How do I know how to compost it? Well, this of course, if you really know how to compost organic stuff, that's good. But if not, you can start with food waste. Yeah. Do you know how to compost? It's easy to start, but there are some little knowledge that you will need. And the great thing in Japan is there's this service called LFC Compost, and what they do is they actually provide support. So you are not sure you have problems in starting your compost, you can reach out to them. It takes, for example, you cannot just say you compost everything. Apparently, some products when composted is not so. It has an adverse effect on the soil you're trying to create. So, yeah. Well, what I'm trying to say here is, do you know how to compost? Composting is one of the R's that some people call rot. So I call it a return. You're returning it back to the soil. And you can use the soil to grow your own vegetables. It's a win-win. You decrease the methane that's released into air, and you get soil that's good for your own planting. Okay, anyway, so finishing up. If there are questions that you find difficult to answer, maybe you can hold back the decision to purchase until you are confident of your ability to handle it. So this is really coming from a consumer society. It is a lot easier to say than do, because you have this the ease, the convenience is really something that's really hard to fight. Now I believe human nature usually chooses the convenient way, the easy way. So are we saying that we have to go through all this pain to be sustainable? No, because there are more and more sustainable brands, and if you can while when Zenbird introduces sustainable brands, you can trust us that these are sustainable brands that are already taking steps. So you want to look out for all these services. Now Zenbird is not the only one. There's a lot of people promoting sustainable products. So what you want is keep a list of them. So keep in your mind, I need the sustainable shampoo, for example. Then when you are going out to buy, you have the list. Yeah, you just pick from them, and it's sustainable in some way. Now, most of them have packaging, so probably you want to think about, okay, what's the right way to dispose of this, for example, paper packaging. And for those of you who are familiar with Kamikatsu, Zero Waste Town, they have like 45 categories of dividing their waste, and 7 of them are just paper. So there are seven types of paper that are disposed differently, and that's very interesting if you think about it. 7 types of what kind of paper, so you can actually go and find out. Out of the mind, for example, newspaper is one type. So there's ink. To deal with the ink, it needs a special method. Process is different. Then you have those paper boxes that has a plastic covering on that. That takes a different process to recycle. Then what about your receipts? Those small little pieces of paper, those require a different process. So yeah, this is very interesting when you dive into it. So remember, how to reduce carbon emissions. Very easy. Might not be so easy to do. Just ask yourself the questions. Where do they come from? And where do they go after you use them? Okay, then that's all for articles. Yeah, I would like to do some advertising. No, Zenbird is holding an online event very soon, in 2 weeks' time, and it'll be about Zen. Now, this is different from Zenbird. Zenbird is about the meaning of Zen in Zenbird is actually social good, but in Zen here is the actual Buddhist Zen method, and it's not a religious practice to say, but it's really a process to find your true self. And yeah, why we are going to do this event is because we are focused on well-being. Now, coronavirus hasn't been really good on our mental health. Now on top of it, there's war. There's unease in everyone's mind. So I think this event comes at a very good point, and we're gonna have a Zen master. She's Dorothy Acing Takatsu, Zen priest, and she's gonna share with us. She's gonna explain to us what Zen is, what does it do. She's gonna give us some pointers on how to approach, for example, meditation, so that you can know what to do to realign yourself away from all the negativities in the world. I'll include this link in the description. I don't think it's there yet. I will put it there after the stream is over. So if you're interested, please consider joining this event. If anything, it will give you the energy, give you the positivity to fight all this unease that's going on in the world. Okay. So I'd like to end this stream with one of my favorite writers. Now, Michael Bernard. Now he's like he says here, he's a strategist. He works with big let's say organizations to realign energy strategies, and of course, as a energy strategist, he promotes the end of oil. Any sane person will push for the end of oil, and he answered this question, which I thought it's a very good question at this point in time. Should funding renewable energy be viewed as an investment in national security? Of course, this is a concern when we are talking about the war in between Russia and Ukraine. Wow, I wouldn't call it war. I call it Russian invasion. More like, well, I tell you, some Russian bots are gonna find this channel, just gonna downvote me. Anyway, So one, like I said at the beginning of the stream, there's this problem that countries cannot move fast enough because they are dependent on Russian oil. And you want to put up sanctions. Can they move away? Can they put sanctions on the oil exports? So of course, I think yes. Should funding renewable energy be viewed as an investment in national security? Definitely. Once you're dependent on another country, then you have to think about national interest, and that's how the politics game is played. Anyway, let's jump into his question, into his answer. So what Michael says is, yes, of course. How many of armed conflicts of the past 25 years have had oil and gas at the center of them? Would the ongoing US involvement in the Middle East have occurred prior to 2001 without Saudi Arabian oil? And if the USA wasn't all over the Middle East, would Al Qaeda and Bin Laden have been motivated to fly planes in the World Trade Center? And if not for that, would the USA have invaded Afghanistan and Iraq? Right now, Russia is invading the Ukraine, and the geopolitics is topsy-turvy because of Russian oil and gas flowing into Europe. And of course, we know that it's not just US. Germany, France, also a lot of countries uses Russian oil. So continuing, without oil and gas revenue, Russia wouldn't have an economy right now. which is right. Something caught my eye the other day on Reddit is what 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 have you bought recently that's Russian brand? I just realized nothing. Yeah. So there's this oil rent that's going on. Oil rent is the percentage of GDP directly from oil and gas. It doesn't include the indirect and induced GDP. Sorry. Without oil and gas revenue, Russia's economy drops by 30% and its GDP per capita is already horrible. By contrast, Canada's oil rent is 1.6% and Norway's is 4.8%. Without oil and gas, Russia's GDP per capita country. Russia is here. Without oil and gas, Russia's GDP per capita wouldn't have climbed steeply in the 2000s, as you can see here. It's flatlining and then raised up here. But even so, it's half of all of Europe's, including the less robust economies, and closer to a third of USA, Canada, and the like. I can tell you from insider knowledge of a multi-billion low-carbon green transformation deal underway, now that the world is taking the transformation to low-carbon economy based on renewables radically more seriously now than it did a few weeks ago. That's great news. He's on the front line for the renewable energy fight, and this is really good news. Continuing with the article, with that answer. I'm looking forward to the cone of silence being lifted so I can share the details, but to the premise of the question, oh yeah, every major country is looking at this and taking the obvious conclusion that the ongoing product problems with fossil fuels require a significant downward trend in their strategic importance. And renewable energy, grid storage, and transmission are the answers. Among other things, renewable energy and the initial stages of storage are things that can be built in a couple of years, while nuclear takes a decade or more. Of course, Canada's oil and gas regions are looking at this as a boon for some reason, but that's par for the course. One key thing to observe is how major oil and gas companies and regions spend their current boom windfalls. The oil and gas majors doing stock buybacks are the ones that are going to be dead in a decade. The ones buying up offshore and wind lease in the TW scale and investing in solar, onshore wind and storage are the ones that will persist. The model is austent, and sustainable oil and gas majors are pivoting in that direction quickly. Wonderful read. Now, if you're interested in reading more of Michael's insight, I recommend, especially if you're on Quora. But he has his own. He also he's also a big writer on. Oh, I can't remember the name of the site, but if you Google his name, it's very easy to find him. And he's straight. If it doesn't work, he'll tell you it doesn't work. Please stop. And he often he has all these positive insights, which makes us really hopeful for the future. So through him, I also know that a lot of major companies are doing the right thing to move towards renewable energies. Well, basically, it makes sense. There's more and more money to be made in renewables. Why wouldn't you? And that's the end of our stream today. Well, just nice 1 hour. So, I'm always surprised at myself. I can speak for 1 hour. Doesn't make sense all the time, but yeah. So I hope this week's has been enlightening especially in the climate change aspect. One of the things we wanted to tackle is actually eco anxiety. More and more people are worried about the climate change. It's getting worse, that's for sure. In fact, it's not getting worse, it's already here. And you know, after the IPCC report release, oh my god, all the major news outlets have been like, you know, we are coming to the end of the world, apocalypse. They're trying to use fear, one, to get as it's a effective headline so that people will buy more, read more. But the strategy they are trying to do is also to scare people into action, which we know doesn't work. Yeah. I remember seeing a question last week that I'd like to get into companion, which is, are we too selfish to make changes for climate change? I would like to believe not. It's more complex than a simple yes or no question, and I'd like to explore what those are. Look out for that article. We definitely want to get it down. So yeah, we've come to the end of the stream, and if you are interested in such content, please give us a subscribe. It really helps us to grow. We haven't started fully advertising our streams and videos yet, because we still have some workflow issues that we need to overcome. For example, these 2 weeks we haven't been able to shoot. We have the issues to more urgent issues to prioritize, which makes us worried too, because we're not getting, you know, the educational content out for people. The team is working hard on it, trust me. Our next stream will be, of course, next Friday, the same time, at 6 p.m. JST, Japan time. But if you're interested, this is a lighter stream. Yeah, we'll have a meatless Monday next Monday, 12:30 at Japanese Standard Time. Japan Standard Time. So again, this is weekend. Take good care of yourself. Maybe give yourself a recharge. Again, the war in Ukraine is still going on, and of course, there's this how to say, the overwhelming sense of the climate crisis. But remember to take care of yourself, guard your emotions, recharge, because you will need it for the next fight next week. And with that, we'll see you when I see you. Oh, we're not starting soon. This is wrong. Okay, yeah, see you soon. And yeah, we'll see you when I see you. Have a good night.